Hey, this is Chris from Rekkid Talk, and so I'm going to do one of those contest entry video things. And so this is a contest that's being run by another Chris. His channel is called Stylus Meets Vinyl, and so he picked the Around the World Pick a Record from Each Continent theme. And that reminded me that I actually did a contest with basically the same thing back in June of 2021. I'll actually link it at the end, although you can't win that contest anymore. So I basically had you pick a record from each of the 7 continents around the world, and he's having you do that as well. He has a couple things that are a little bit different than mine. So first of all, he wants us to give a shout out to a channel. So I'm going to give a shout out to a channel called Mike Finds Things. Now, Mike Finds Things, in a sense, I mean, it doesn't really interact with what I think most of us call the VC, although, I mean, he's showing records about record collecting, and I enjoy his channel, so I figured I would mention it. So basically, Mike is a guy who lives in Southern California. Basically, he sits on his porch and he shows you the records that he finds, mostly at estate sales in the Southern California area, some thrift stores as well. He shows a lot of 7-inch 45 RPM records. He also shows a lot of the old 78 RPM shellac records. In particular, his tastes lean towards 50s and 60s music. So he's going to be showing rockabilly, doo-wop, surf music that's big in Southern California, garage, northern soul. Although he'll show some classic rock and punk and new wave occasionally as well. So that's Mike Finds Things, and that's actually his secondary channel. His main channel is called Mike Frankovich. That's his name, and the main channel is all about filming car shows, classic car shows throughout Southern California. And that's actually, I'm not really a member of that community, but that's a pretty big channel in that particular community. All right, so let's get into showing records. So I'm going to talk about the records I showed in my video back over 3 years ago, and then show you a new set. So he wants you to do North America. In my video, I define North America to be just US and Canada, and I showed Neil Young, American Stars and Bars, basically getting Canada and the US in at once with the Canadian artist Neil Young and the American Stars and Bars theme. But I think a good record to show to represent America right now is Green Day with American Idiot. And so this is about as American as you can get. I bought this album at Walmart. It's on the Walmart exclusive red vinyl. Now, I won't bother taking it out. You know what colored vinyl looks like. So then he wants us to do South America. When I did my video, I basically said Latin American, Caribbean as a category. So Mexico, Central America, Caribbean, I lumped all in with South America, and actually didn't show a South American record. I showed the True Tones combo of St. Lucia. It was my thumbnail back then. But this time I'm actually going to show a South American record, although we're still on the coast of the Caribbean, because we're going to show a record from Venezuela that I got for a couple bucks at a antique store. So this is Super Combos Los Tropicales. That's the name of the group. Super Bailables. And so this is like rumba, conga, ballad sort of stuff. And of course, the best part of it is this very classic cover with the Venezuelan senoritas and the congas and the saxophone. And this is probably going to be the thumbnail for this particular record. And so it's floppy. We'll show you what the guys in the band look like. You can see why they didn't put themselves on the cover. That's what the label looks like. So, Venezuelan. Europe. So back in the day, I showed Scorpions Taken by Force, a German band. But this time I'm going to show what's probably the most quintessential European record in my collection. So it's the 50th anniversary of when this particular group won the Eurovision contest. They won it back in 1974. They sang a song that was about a famous European battle. Napoleon was involved. Napoleon did surrender. I feel like I win when I lose. And so, of course, the song is Waterloo. The country is Sweden. The group is ABBA. And so there's ABBA's greatest hits. I think that's very, very very European. Africa. So Chris, in his video, you saw him show one of the witch records to represent Zamrock. I think Zamrock is a really good African category to get into if you have like white guy tastes in music. Like, because I think of all the African music I've listened to, the Zamrock definitely has the strongest sort of early 70s hard rock influence in it. But I'm not going to show that. Back in the day, I showed Mdu Mokhtar with Ilana the Creator. So he's from Niger. He's part of that Tuareg desert blues scene. So you're getting stuff from Mali and Niger and Algeria, southern Algeria, kind of the countries in that region. But what I'm going to go with instead is the label Analog Africa puts out lots of great compilations. And so a recent one they came out with, and that's a cool cover as well. I mean, maybe I should use that as a thumbnail rather than the Venezuelan women. But we got Congo Funk, Sound Madness from the Shores of the Mighty Congo River, Kinshasa, Brazzaville, 1969 to 1982. So I think these are both of the Congo countries. It's gatefold, and so you can see, I think these are like the original sleeves of a lot of like these original records. And I'm not super familiar with any of these groups. It's just something I listen to and enjoy. I haven't done much research on this. There are liner notes in here, so you can read these liner notes and become more well educated about Congo funk. But I definitely recommend Africa Analog compilations if you are so inclined. Next, that's going to take us to Asia. So back in the day, I showed the South Korean band Jambanai, and no, they're not a boy band. Their album, A Hermitage, they're sort of a post-rock infused with like some tradition Korean folk instruments. So I said that they were like basically the Korean version of Sugar Roast, the Icelandic post-rock band. But let's not do post-rock this time. Let's do, and this is a 10-inch record, not a 12-inch record. This is Masaaki Hirao and his All-Stars Wagon, Nippon Rock and Roll, the birth of Japanese rockabilly from 1958 to 1960. I think I showed this record recently, but it's too cool to not show again. So this guy was basically, I mean, it's pretty obvious he's trying to be the Japanese Elvis Presley there. And so, and in fact, I mean, some of the songs, I mean, you got a cover of Jailhouse Rock right on there. And so, yeah, Japanese rockabilly. Australia, of course, we could just go with Men at Work, Vegemite Sandwich. We could go with AC/DC. We could go with Amyl and the Sniffers. Back in the day, I went with the NX album Shabu Shaba. But what I'm going to go with today is this band called Coffin with this album called Australia Stops. I think I've shown this one before. So, Raging No Holds Barred Australian Rock and Roll. They self-describe themselves as psychotic skate punk and pub thrash band from Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. And of course, Coffin actually it's an acronym. It stands for Children of Finland Fighting in Norway. So there's a little bit of Europeanness and well with the crazy band name. But this is fun, garagey, punky music if you're into that sort of thing. And then we get to the Haha Antarctica. And so back in my video, and this is going to be the one where I'm going to do a repeat. And so this is going to be my Antarctica. And so it's the Sinfonia Antarctica. So this was done by the London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Andre Previn. Ralph Vaughan Williams is the composer of the Sinfonia Antarctica. It was composed in the early 1950s. And the guy was like 80 years old at the time, so he was born in like 1870 something. It's on the RCA Red Seal. I'm guessing that's what RCA used for like their classical records. And in fact, I'm assuming, I mean, the paper's pretty brown at this point, but it is poly-lined. sleeve that comes along with it. So that's going to be Antarctica. So I didn't have to show that Vangelis record. And then finally, Chris wants us to show a Canadian record. I mean, I could have shown a Canadian record for North America. I could have done Neil Young again. I could have done Rush, but I could have done Tanya Tagaq. But I decided, I mean, he's from the West Coast, so let me show. Is this West Coast enough for you? No means no. Wrong. I think that's West Coast enough for you.